After the flood, the world was silent. The waters had receded, the ark had come to rest, and humanity stood at the beginning of something new. The earth had been washed clean, and for a moment, it seemed as though the story of mankind might begin again, differently this time. God had given a command: be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth. It was a call to spread out, to build, to grow, and to live within the boundaries he had set. But it would not take long for humanity to choose its own path once again, because even after judgment, the human heart had not changed, and what began as unity would soon become something else entirely. The rise of human pride. The people began to speak among themselves, and their words revealed the direction of their hearts. Come, let us make bricks and bake them thoroughly. This was innovation, progress, the ability to shape the world around them. But then came the next statement. Come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower that reaches to the heavens. This was no longer about survival. This was about ambition, about achievement, about reaching beyond their place. And then came the words that reveal everything. Let us make a name for ourselves so that we will not be scattered over the face of the whole earth. In that moment, humanity made a clear choice. Instead of following God's command, they would create their own purpose. Instead of trusting his plan, they would establish their own identity. They would not spread out. They would not submit. They would rise together. And the tower began. The tower rises. Brick by brick, the tower began to rise. And what started as an idea quickly became something real, something massive, something impossible to ignore. The sound of labor filled the air as people worked side by side, shaping clay into bricks, baking them in fire, and stacking them higher with each passing day. The city around them grew with energy and movement, but at its center stood the tower, rising above everything else, reaching upward as if it were stretching toward the heavens themselves. And as it grew taller, something else began to grow with it. Pride, not the quiet kind that celebrates accomplishment, but something deeper, something louder, something dangerous. People began to look at what they were building and saw more than a structure. They saw power. They saw control. They saw proof that together they could create something that defied limits. There was no thought of God in their work, no pause to question whether they should, only the determination that they could. And as the tower climbed higher into the sky, so did their belief that nothing could stop them, that nothing could stand in their way, that they were becoming something greater than they were ever meant to be. God comes down. Brick by brick, the tower began to rise. And what started as an idea quickly became something real, something massive, something impossible to ignore. The sound of labor filled the air as people worked side by side, shaping clay into bricks, baking them in fire, and stacking them higher with each passing day. The city around them grew with energy and movement, but at its center stood the tower, rising above everything else, reaching upward as if it were stretching toward the heavens themselves. And as it grew taller, something else began to grow with it. Pride, not the quiet kind that celebrates accomplishment, but something deeper, something louder, something dangerous. People began to look at what they were building and saw more than a structure. They saw power. They saw control. They saw proof that together they could create something that defied limits. There was no thought of God in their work, no pause to question whether they should, only the determination that they could. And as the tower climbed higher into the sky, so did their belief that nothing could stop them, that nothing could stand in their way, that they were becoming something greater than they were ever meant to be. The confusion of languages, and in a single moment, everything changed. The same voices that had once spoken clearly now became tangled in confusion, as if meaning itself had been pulled apart. Words that once flowed effortlessly between people suddenly lost their clarity, their structure, their understanding. A man would speak, and the one beside him would hear only noise. Instructions were given, but no longer followed. Questions were asked, but no longer answered. The unity that once defined them began to fracture almost instantly. You can imagine the scene: voices rising, frustration building, confusion spreading like a wave through the crowd. Hands, once working together, now stopped, unsure of what to do next. Groups began to form, drawn together not by purpose, but by the few who could still understand one another. And where there had once been order, there was now chaos. The tower, once rising with certainty and momentum, now stood still, unfinished, abandoned in confusion. What had been humanity's greatest project had come to a halt, not by force, not by destruction, but by the simple removal of understanding. Scattered across the earth, as confusion spread, the people had no choice but to separate. Families gathered together, clinging to those they could still communicate with, while others drifted away, searching for voices they could understand. The unity that once held them together was gone, replaced by distance, by division, by silence between those who once stood side by side. Slowly, groups began to move away from the city, leaving behind the tower that had once defined them. They traveled across the land, settling in new places, forming new communities, building new lives, each shaped by their own language, their own identity. What began as resistance to God's command had now led them exactly where He had intended them to go. The earth began to fill, not through unity of purpose, but through the scattering of people across its surface. And behind them, the city of Babel remained, its unfinished tower standing as a silent reminder of what had happened there, a monument not to success, but to the limits of human ambition when it is separated from God. The meaning of Babel, the story of Babel, is not just about a tower or even about language. It is about the nature of the human heart. It reveals how quickly people turn toward themselves, how easily pride takes root when success begins to grow, how unity, when not grounded in God, can become something dangerous. The people did not build the tower out of necessity, but out of a desire to make a name for themselves, to establish their own identity apart from the one who created them. And in doing so, they revealed a truth that echoes throughout all of history. Humanity, left to its own direction, will always seek to rise higher, to reach further, to become more. But without God, that pursuit leads not to fulfillment, but to division. And yet, even in this moment, God's response was not destruction, but redirection. He did not wipe humanity away as He had before, but instead guided the course of history forward, setting the stage for nations, for cultures, for languages, all of which would play a part in the greater story still to come. Because the story of Babel is not the end. It is a turning point, a moment that reminds us that no matter how high humanity builds, it cannot reach God on its own. and that one day the path between heaven and earth would not be built by human hands, but opened by God Himself. The Tower of Babel stands as a reminder that humanity cannot reach God by its own effort. No structure, no achievement, no unity built on pride can bridge that gap, because the distance between humanity and God is not measured in height, but in the condition of the heart. And yet, the story does not end there, because one day, God would make a way, not for humanity to reach up to Him, but for Him to come down to us.